a minion in the middle of an Indian. So he's talking about the Koich of Tzadikim to bring down, to subdue the Rishoyim. And basically said, in resolving the contradictions in the quotations, the sources from the Gemara and so on, that when the Rosh is lined up with Oides the Toyo, which is his source, Bechlalav, Gashmias, Elam Hazeh, in the words of the Gemara, Sha'asho Mesachekes Loi, when the hour smiles at him, then only the Abishta can bring him down. We're way ahead. No, we finished Eis Dalet, so we'll give a summary of it. Okay. We did the whole Eis Dalet, so we'll summarize. But so then you can't. But once the Oides the Toiho have been removed from him, then the tzaddik can subdue him. Like the aluk of the leech, once it's full, gorged with blood, then it dies. Or Pashat in Chumash, that the Eibishter told Abraham that Eden cannot enter Yisrael until the fourth generation, until the measure of the Mariam, of the Canaanim, is full, the measure of transgression. Once they've reached their measure, then their existence is no longer with that toikif. They've run their course, and then Eden can go in. So in more detail, he said, yeah. So once the Eidos Takifim, the intense creators, leave, then the tzaddikim can subdue them. So Lachayr around the story, you find many stories in the Torah. The tzaddikim did overcome and over the Rishoyim. So this is the answers we're saying now. B'shasha, if the hour smiles him or not, and that means, as we were saying, I just told you the Revi, etc. Yeah, this is the summary of this ice. And that's why Moishe Rabbeinu was afraid to approach Paray. When Isaiah says, explains why why God says to Moishe Rabbeinu not go to Paray, but come to Paray, they beat himself to go with him and bring him. Ayale, go with him. Idalifnim, Idra, chamber within chamber. Why? Because then Paray was in the matzav of Eidos Takifim, aligned and empowered by Toihu. He keeps them, he's quoting throughout the Maimah, but David told Eov, Im if your arm is like Hashem, then what's the measure of that? Then you bring down the Shoyim Bimkoimah. The Lashon HaPosek is the conclusion is Tom number offer, buried them in the dust. But Bim Tachto, the Lashon HaPosek is here, Hadoich Rishoyim Tachto, smite the Rishoyim in their place. In their place means when they're still connected to it is the Toyo. If you can do that, Hashem, challenges Eov, then you have the power of, your power is mine, is as mine, and I will acknowledge it, but you can't. No context there of the story of Eov. Now, the square brackets, because he speaks about this, the different shemas. So, Olam HaTikun is Shem Ma. Olam HaToyo, or dominates Olam HaToyo, Shem Sag. As we explained, the Gematria and so on. Aval Piken, the Eibishter himself can bring him down, because of course, like Abba the Eibishter, even Shem Sag, Matoya is only a order. But when Nismalu saw some, the measure is full, then the tzaddik can, in the Tzutzik Dusha, have been extracted. Only that's left is the tamtzis. The tamtzis, Hashem still keeps them going. They're not purposeless. Adrabah, now they can be defeated. So then the tzaddik, who is Meilam Atikon, is able to, in the words of the Maimon, Einker. We find he concluded there with Bilam. The Bilam was Meilam Atoyo, and Yidden could not prevail until Moishe Rabbeinu took out the good. And how was that done? Shakadosh Baruch Hu som befiv divei nevuah. God directly put these words of nevuah into Bilam and challenged him in his takev, and that made the tremendous parshas Bilam, parshas nevuah. That's a Matzedek explained the gewaltige ufta. And the kuda is that the whole thing of Lasid Love, what's he prophesizing? He's prophesizing about Mashiach. So what's then? That's when it is the Torah, the source is revealed, and it's all challenged, revealed. And this world is a keli for it. It is the Torah, but in kelim the Tikkun, that's Mashiach. So that was the whole nevuah of Bilam. He is the Torah, and what's he giving a prophecy for? Didn't you know Mashiach, but that's exactly what's going to happen. And that's why he is the one that must give that nevuah. That's the gewaltige ufto that Tzemach Tzedek uses, that Lashon, in describing the whole Parshas Bilam. And the Eibishter did that at the zenith of his height. And what happened after that? What do we read? He's deflated, and he says, I'm going back home. And then next we read that Moshe Rabbeinu kills him. He didn't defeat him in the battle. But he concludes that before, that was an exception, as it were. The Eibishter stepped in right now while he's betokvei. And then Moshe could overcome him. But before that, he cannot be subdued. Now, that's what we're up to. Yeah, folks, you with me? Yeah, it's clear. Okay. Yes, that is another way. This Zoya, like it says in Zoya. Even with the normal seder is the Eibishter waits for the wicked until their measure is full, and then they brought it down, like again the look of the leech that falls dead after gorging itself on blood. So, however, in a case where they oppress Eden, so then God can intervene and render judgment to them, even though their measure is in full. It's because they're oppressing Eden. It's quite the statement here. So maybe it's Baruch Ali is Haduf L'Shoyim Tachtam, so the Eibishter steps in and crushes them in their place. And we learned this also, friends. I mean, it's a big statement because, the Rebbe is making this the reality now. We look at our past history. Obviously, it happened, but it seems there were times it did not happen. Upon him, he's saying that's what's happening now. This is a Maimer and Tafshin Chavav, and this is the reality going forward. It's all based in his mind. This Inyan of even if their measure is not full, I don't deserve it yet to be crushed, but they do. They will be if they oppress Yidden. So this is brought in the Yerushalmi, and Tosfos brings it in Masechta Kiddushin, and that is Shebe'akom Gamach Shavarak Nishbarchim Tzaf L'Maisa. When it comes to the Akom, to the non-Jew, an evil thought God considers or connects to action, and therefore it's like he already had the action, even though his measure is not really full practically, but he intended to, that's enough. Now he's adding, no, I'm sorry, this is not the union of the measure being full. The measure is not full. But he said, sorry, that if they intend to, if they harm Yidden, that's enough reason. And now he adds in if they intend to harm Yidden. And he said, this is even if the measure isn't full. I stand corrected. It is the Indian measure full. Sorry. Because if they would carry out what they would want to do, so that would be the end of them. The good would be extracted. When the leech sucks the blood, she dies. So that would mean, so that's the Vortak, that their intent is already lapel that the measure is full, even though lapel that isn't. It's not so poshut here. Let's go through this again. He said in the beginning that even if their measure isn't full, God will bring them down if they want to hurt Yidden. Then if they hurt Yidden, if they are hurting, then he adds, even if they want to, you'll still bring them down because Hashem considers it like action. But then adds, and that's when their measure is full. So tzadich here. So why isn't it when they're actually mitzidim or me'ikim? Why is that not their measure full then? He just said now that if they want to, even if they want to, so God will bring them down. And the reason is because their measure is now full in machshava. That's kamoy nismala sosam. B'meila nasa hodach derushoyim. So therefore God can crush them. But it said in the beginning of the ois that even when they're mitzvah or me'ikim, so the chayda, maybe, hear my question. You hear what I'm asking? He started off saying that there's another oifen, that when they oppress a Yidden, even if their measure isn't full, God steps in and brings them down. Moreover, when they intend to, because machshava is like Moishe. But then he adds the asbara, because their intention makes their measure full. So why isn't mitzidim or me'ikim when they are oppressing Jews? Why does not making their measure full? So hear my question. Yes. So we could say the pshat is that when he says mitzidim me'ikim, they're only starting. They didn't really. They're starting. They're making Jews uncomfortable. But they want to go much further than that. The machshava is already taking them to the end. So the machshava, therefore, is, since Hashem considers it like Moishe, so their measure is full. So their machshava, God considering their machshavas even makes them worse than their actual actions, because their actions, they have not gotten to the end of it yet. There's a whole plan. There's a whole process. There's a whole golus. But if we consider the machshava, then it's already full. So that's even a greater justification, as it were, for Hashem hoduch, crashing them in the very place, in the very height. Hoduch Rishoyim Tachta. That's the pshat, perhaps. Okay, concluding, Megillah says, and the Megillah is going to answer the question of the Medrash, this whole business of raising Haman's head. What's that got the head got to do with it? He's destroyed, he's eliminated. But what's the Lashon HaPasuk? Yoshem Achshavte Arosh Haman. So the Megillah itself said that his intent that he wanted to do Asher Chosh V'Lehudim Al Roshoi is now boomerangs on his head. Why the diak of the head? Because it's his machshava. His evil thought is considered as if he did it. And therefore, his measure is full, and that causes the downfall of him. Okay, continuing. We following any questions? We agree, shot, we go further. Yeah. Excuse me. You can see Zecher, the New York blizzard behind me. Don't want to distract you. Okay. Vinyam Bazek, what I'm explained in the Rambaz the Pirish on Bazaya in detail. So why their intent justifies their destruction. The Kirim Shamit Sidim Mikim not just the intent, but the intent and their actual even doing it, even partially, as we're explaining. So why does this justify their destruction? What are they doing? A Yid can't learn and daven under the pressures of Golos and the pain of Golos. Din Nushi is battle mipneyim. So the din, midas adin, he's saying, he's not a divine chesed. The midas adin, that they should be nullified. They should be terminated, such oppression. Why? So the Ramez gives the beer of Pnimius. The nations of the world are chitzonius. What's chitzonius mean? Chitzonius means they're a means for an end. But Yidden and Teda Mitzvah is not a means for an end. That's the Kavanah Pnimius. Well, beating, and the explanation is as follows. So what he's saying already Bekitzit is that when you're stopping the Pnimius HaKavanah, then your Chitzonius, the Kavanah, is not justified. You're there to abet and support, not to interfere. Let's see inside. The beating and the hinday options Belioshi Yesh Bam by this Dakifim. The Toyo, the Chayda, we're calling them the Chitzonius and Yidden Pnimius, they're the Pnimius. Because they come from the powerful, intense items the Toyo. Shekadam the Tikkun Gamba Maida that precedes Tikkun, not just intensity, but in level, not just in other words in quantity, but in quality. So it means if they're higher, they're more Pnimius, they're closer to the Eivish. So what does it mean that Yidden Pnimius and Umas Ha'olam Chitzonius? Bikomokim, nonetheless, it's true, their shorish is a very high level, but the inika that nourishes them is only external, meaning to say, again, it's a means. Because P'chinas HaPnimius, Shayachas Yisrael Dafkin of Pnimius, that's what I want. I want you, that's Yidden. Commissioner Kosak the Apostle says, Yer Havai Pano Velecha, Hashem will illuminate, shine his face to you. Pano, the diak is his face, Pnimius. Pano of Daike. Kedisa Gemara, the Gemara says, the Gemara in Brachas there, the Gemara says the Eibush takes bribery. But how could he do that? The Gemara asks. Bribery of Yidden. That's what Yisah Shem Panav Elecha. Yisah, God will raise His face to you. So that's the Gemara asks, where's so much the bribery? It's another symbol in the union of Sheikhad. Here, the union of Nesias Ponim, which means showing favor. The Gemara asks, how could God do that? God is God commands a judge, a mortal judge, not to show favor to one diligent over the other. So how is Hashem showing favor to Yidden? The Gemara asks this. The Gemara answers that Hashem says, "V'chila yes upon him Yisrael." How can I not show favor to them? Shekasavti lem b'Torah chula. I wrote in Torah that they only bench after eating. V'chalta v'savota. You have to be satisfied, fully satisfied. And then they say bircha even after kazayis. So how can I not favor them? So that he's bringing this Gemara to show the esaponim that the Eibush shows his and favors, elevates literally, shows his face dafka to Yidden. Because why? Yidden the kavana pnimius, and therefore it continues. Kasher agiloi, umeprinis ha-pnimius. So when the giloi comes from the pnimius, what Eibushter reveals his inner desire for Yidden, that's what he wants. In Yalzenema, he kihineni meishiacham merochik. So it's a pasuk in Yirmiyah, and I will save you merochik from the distance. Pasuk Pshat is, if I'm not mistaken, even when you are banished and from Eretz Yisrael and far away, I will save you. But what's the inyan of merochik from the distance? Mavur b'Zoyar, the Zoyar says, "Shezeh abchinas gavoya yoser." That is a much higher level than Shalei Nemar, on which the pasuk says, until David calls out and says, "Lama vayatamed barochet." Why God are you standing distant far away? What's the difference? The Mashakos Lama vayatamed barochet zman hagolos. David's talking about zman hagolos. You're far away. You're distant. Shazak Kadosh Baruch Hu Solik Leilu Hashem is removed for higher and higher. Hainu, what darge? The darge kazush shishom them bakachashecha kaira, the level which from the face of which light and dark are equally. Shishneim b'shov, they're both equal. V'adarab toya kodem tikkun, and if anything toya precedes tikkun. And therefore, mitzad zeh yochalis ma'im the massive the tamed berochek. So therefore, Klippa gets the upper hand. All is equal. Toya, his force is greater, and Hashem stands off in a distance. That's what David the Melech is bemoaning. But then, that's all when what's operating is only the chitzonius or hakavana, not the pnimius hakavana. But then when the Gilui comes and Hashem reveals his pnimius and he didn't evoke that, Mustami is going to explain how we do that. I will save you, even though dark and light are equal. And on the contrary, Toya is a higher shayrish, but I will save you. The word Yeshua is Meloshin Shah, to turn. And that's an allusion to, it's from Kabbalah, Shin Ayin Heino Heiri, there's 375 lights. It's a very high madrege. I'm not mistaken, it's Shem Kale, Aleph Lamed. Kale spelled Aleph Lamed. And Lamed spelled Lamed Mem Daled. Spell it out. And it's multiplied twice. Kale, find the Lashon HaPasuk, and then there's the add 5, which is Malchus, He'ilo, He'tato, whatever, it's a Kabbalah Cheshbon, that adds up, do the math, that adds up to 375. Al Koponim, it's a very high injury, now it is Ponim, the Shin Ayin Heino Heirin, Hine Maishi Acha Mirachek. So that's the hardest Ponim, that's the inner Kavana that Hashem reveals, Pnes HaPnimius, and that is Shaykhis Yisrael Dafket, only Yidden are connected to Kavana, not just connected, express the Kavana Pnimius. This is all that Ramez is explaining and they're elaborating. Mizbatim kol ha-mitzvim liso, that knowledge neutralizes all of the oppression. Gam b'yoysim, I'm the master of Shem Ba'idis, that give him the Toyu, even when Klippa is connected to Toyu. Because the measure is not filled. The measure of the Umas Olam, they've still got mileage. Nonetheless, when the Pnimius is revealed, when it touches the Avodah of a Yid, I don't know if he's going to say it or not, but this is Tafshin Chavav. Elsewhere that I've spoken about this.
It's similar to Atotoimich Geroli.
I can't hear what you're saying.
It's similar to Atotoimich Geroli.
Yeah, could be. But I'm explaining that what's the Pnimius over here, because when Yidden in Russia, they were cried about this. A letter he got from a Bacher, we shared this with you. We should love him. Whatever gets letter from a Bacher, and he's in Russia, what's he crying about he doesn't have, he's asking the Rebbe for an Eitzim Machshava Zodas in davening. This is not asking the oppression and the all of the tzaras that they are they're suffering. That wasn't this is the bracha. The bracha is, so this is the nakuda here when the yid reveals the kavanah pnimius. What's the problem with the golus that he can't serve the Eibishter properly, and that's still a kavanah to the mitzvahs. So that's the end of them. In Taka, that's what happened in Rush. Self called self. You might say they didn't learn into the Maimah. This is right in the. He doesn't. But this is Tafshir Chavov. This is right in the throes of it. I told you the book Samarkand. It's a Meredika Sefer, a book, required reading, really eye opener. This is the 60s, 70s in Russia, 50s. He starts with the fort right away in the 40s. So let's continue. So then, so the Pnimius, so then even betokvam, their height, you start up with the Yitztei mitzvahs. You're a means for an end. You have no justification. You become irrelevant. And he continues to tell you, so what's going on now is like this: the Torah is Takashem Sag and Tikkun Hashem Ba, Achyesh Shem Ab, Shlemayim Mishteim, Shem Ab, which is the middle of Yud, 72, which is higher than both in men and Nimshach Liyasiri. That's the Pnimius, from where I will save you, Meirachit, from a distance, meaning from this transcendent level, Gufa, I will save you. In the dark of Chashecha Ka'ira, but since you're the Pnimius, and even though Torah precedes you, so since you're the Kavanah Pnimius, and that's what the Yid is expressing, so therein comes the salvation. Now, Beprotis, in the Yidush HaShepesh, Ben Shem Sag L'Shem Ab, he gives us number Protis. The difference between Shem, Sag, and Ab, the difference is the Oisvav. Shem Ayim Ab will be Yud. In Shem, Sag, Yud is spelled Yud Vav Dalet. Hey is spelled Hey Yud. But the Vav is spelled with an Aleph. And the Hey, the Yed is Hey Aleph. The Vav is the differential. Let's see, get 63 or 72. In the Shem, Sag, it's Vav Aleph Vav. In Shem Ab, he says it's Vav Yud Vav. Mashenkim, B'Shem Sag, or Ba'aleph. That's Va'aleph. Shezem Hashanama Ba'esav Loshen Aluf. So the whole difference is the Aleph versus the Yud. And that's why by Esav, the generals are called Aluf. That's what they're called. His leaders, they're chieftains. Yud Aleph, Alufei Esav, the 11 chieftains of Esav. Yud Aleph going on Klippa. There's Yud Aleph in Kedusha, connected Yud Aleph in Klippa. Hainish mitzad shvidas hakelim, nafal mishon, sag lamata. There Shem Sag, Aleph, Aluf, and it fell down in the Shvidas HaKelim, and it all collapsed. Beifin Shal Yeshus and Metzias, and it comes down here in a way of Yeshus and Metzias, Shosering and Aluf, that's the unit of Aluf, a chieftain, and they're all in conflict with each other. Right? That's all in the Shvidas HaKelim. It's not like the Aleph in Torah, which is Kedusha. There is a Shema and Shema, which is Kedusha and orderly Kedusha, Avedis Tzadikim, Shesh Baikama Alpha, there are several Alephs. And look, he spells it for us. Yud is always Yud, but the whole Milah is Aleph, going on Zoh. Kedusha, integrated, God did this. Hey Aleph, Vav, Aleph, Vav, Hey Aleph. And what's the Aleph in Kedusha? Not the Aluf, the chieftain of Esav. The Aleph in Kedusha is Melosha Alefcha Chochma Alefcha Bina. I'll teach you wisdom. I'll teach you Chochma, I'll teach you Bina. Pasuk in Eov. right? So this brings frequently. Chochma bina de kedusha. So that's Chochma bina kedusha. That's the aleph in kedusha, as opposed to the aleph of Esav. Shayodam nasa inyan abitul. So in the gili of Chochma bina, that causes a bittul when we have an understanding of godliness and it's internalized. Mashenkin oisa aleph b'shem sag, but the aleph of Shem Samagimel, where the vav is spelled vav aleph vav shemzen yisafash b'shvidas hakelim alufa Esav. That causes through the shattering of the kelim, not bittul but yeshes. U'inyan shel yeshes ametzias. That's a conclusion. Mitzad Shem Ab should be Yod. So when the Eibishter reveals Shem Ab with the Kavanah Pnimius, which is Yod the Bittul, Lamaydim Aleph Shem Sagom Ma'ad Tevitikon, hide in both Sagom Ma'ad Tevitikon. Nasa Hinni Moishe Baruch will save you from this lofty, and the salvation comes from this lofty level. Lies Hodach Rishoyim to cross the Rishoyim. So we'll finish here. The conclusion is that when the ummos interfere with the Yid's Avodah, and there's no justification, then the Yidden reveal the primistic connection to the Eibishter, and the primistic connection involves Shem Ayin Beis, which is an essential connection, essential expression of Elikus. The Mili is Yud, Yud, Yud. And that is higher than Shem Sag, and certainly higher than Shema. Sag Toyo Shema is Tikkun. And there comes the bittul of Lo'omazeh. Even when they only have the machshava to God forbid, to harm and destroy the Eden. Okay. So we'll continue Be'ezrat Hashem.